We have to remind ourselves that our choice creates realities, one way or another. You can't get out of who you are. I am sorry. You're a human. You've been made in the image and likeness of God. And like it or lump it, God loved you so much, he made you like himself. Do you know what would solve everyone's problems right here today? Instantly, problems would be solved if God would just love us a little bit less and help us a little bit more. But his love only knows 100%. And his love went all the way to the degree of making you just like God. If he would have made you a little bit less so he could control you, God controlling me, my life would be amazing. Problem is, he made me so like himself that he gave me the right to be independent. So now I'm controlling me, and that's not always good. So if I don't control me by giving God all the glory and the importance, and then looking at this present world, even if it means I've got some things this week with work that are literally, it will cost me my job if I don't put extra effort into it, then I'll tell you what, then go right ahead and put all your effort into it, and I trust you've got the ability to make it good. But if you want it to be great, the first thing you will do is to the Lord you will say, I will not do this job, not any of it. Not any of the time I think about it, not any of the time I apply myself to it, not any of the time I walk into the building where I work without you. And none of this is so important that I put you in a place to say, hey, hang on for a week, I'll be back with you next week. No, you're the most important, and I give you all the value. This job means nothing from the standpoint, there are many jobs out there, and if I didn't have this one, you'd give me a better one. So I put you first and foremost. Come on, Jesus. Go to work with me. Go to work with me right now. Help me to think of this. Help me to understand this. And then begin applying yourself with the idea that he's with you. That's how you lessen something that's really important, and then you bring something else that's really up. I had to do this concerning my daughter, Drew, when she tumbled. And when she did, she ended up, it was outside in the Oklahoma heat. The heat index had to be over 100, and her feet were sweating, and they have these little footies that they have on, and she's running down a tumble track to hit this double mini, which is a 4-foot space at an angle that when you hit it, it throws you straight up, and right next to it is another 4-foot space that is level, and then they come, and so she would hit it and do a complete layout and hit this other one and then do a double and then land. Well, she ran down, and when she took off, we even saw it. One footy went flying this way, another went flying this way. Now she's off in the air, and she hit that thing and went up, and now she's discombobulated to know where she's at and comes right down on the trampoline edge of the frame on her knee. And she's just writhing in pain like that. And I had an opportunity because my daughter means everything to me. And Erin said what any mother would say, go get her. And everything in me just literally shut down. And I said, no, I'm going to just walk slowly. And I walked on purpose slow, which gave a lady plenty of time to pull her over to the side, put ice under her while I'm walking slow. The whole time I'm walking slow, I'm saying, I will not buy into this. I will not buy into this. I know who I am. I know who God is. He makes great knees. There's nothing wrong with her knee. And when I walked up to her, the first thing I could see it in her eyes is Dad's going to do something crazy to me. So I said to her, first and foremost, I'm not going to embarrass you. I said, second, I give you the choice. I said, they do really good jobs nowadays on knees, fixing tendons. And we can go to an outpatient right now, and I said, they'll put you in a boot, they'll do a little surgery on you, and I said, you'll be out for about 6 7, 8 weeks in that boot, and then they'll start to do some physical therapy on you, and it'll probably take you half a year until you're back where you need to be, but you'll be fine. And we can do that, or we can do it God's way. She looked at, she said, I want to do it God's way. I said, then I have a question for you. Does God make bad knees? And she said, no, he doesn't. I said, then why, just because yours hurt, do you think there's something wrong? And then a lady over my shoulder was crunching ice, and she went to give it, and I said, I don't need your ice. And she kind of got offended. And she was one of Erin's friends. But you know what? Give me a break. It's my daughter. And it's one of my first times to have this type of a scenario. So I'll apologize to you later. Take your ice and go somewhere else. And then when I looked back, the lady that put the ice underneath her leg has big eyes, and she went and she grabbed the ice and pulled it right out from underneath her leg, and then she left. And then I looked at Drew and I said, aren't you hungry? And she said, yes, I am. I said, you smell those hamburgers and hot dogs? She said, I do. I said, let's go get them. And then she looked at me like, I said, oh no, you get up. You don't have a bad knee. Why would you have a bad knee? We already discussed that. God doesn't make bad knees. And she's still really hurting, but she made her way up, and she just hobbled. And then I turned around and said, the line's getting bigger. If you don't hurry, we're going to be waiting a very long time. And so she hobbled really fast like this over, and she's just protecting that knee. And we got ourselves our burgers, and then we hobbled all the way over to where we were sitting, because that night was the 4th of July, and we were getting ready to watch all the fireworks. I almost caved one moment. She's sitting there eating her hot dog, and I put my hand on her, and I said, you know what happens when I put my hand on people, don't you? And then I heard on the inside, why, is there something wrong? And then I said, just forget what I said. Everything's fine. Eat your hot dog. After the whole thing was over and she didn't complain at all, she just sat there with her leg up like this. Chloe looks at me and says, well, we're going to walk to the car, right? I say, yes. She goes, well, aren't you going to carry Drew? I said, no, she can walk from here to China. And she hobbled all the way to the car, which was a long way for her to go. We got in. We went home. And I let her go out upstairs. She kind of hobbled upstairs. And she got herself ready for bed. And she was in bed. I said, Drew, I'm coming in. And I said, now pull the covers back. Let's look at those knees. And she put knee to knee, and there was absolutely no swelling. And I said, you know, of course, this is just a statement. And I said, that knee should be as big as a basketball with what you did. I said, God's already working on it. I said, now tomorrow, as you know, you're going to London on a missionary trip. I said, the moment you wake up, you jump out of bed, you run downstairs, and when you get downstairs, you jump up and down on that knee. And I guarantee you it'll be as perfect as it ever was, and you'll go on your mission trip without any difficulty. She said, okay. And I heard pitter-patter of her running downstairs, and I heard her jumping around in the kitchen, and I walked in there. She said, Dad, look at that. Just as good as ever. Okay? So that's taking what? That's taking something that's super important and bringing one side down and elevating the other side until you're just literally screaming, Jesus, you're all I need. Jesus, you're all I need. Jesus, you're all I've got. That's true acknowledgement. Because on the one hand, I'm acknowledging him, but I'm devaluing something else. And as long as you're doing the two at the same time, because those balance scales, that doesn't work where it's just this one gets heavy and that one stays. No, if one's heavy, the other one goes up. It's a teeter-totter. So you got to do both things at the same time, and you'll find that God will begin to open your eyes, because the moment you're willing to devalue what should be important to someone else and you, and yet give God the value. The grace of God is obligated. I'm going to say it again, obligated to take care of what you've just let go of. It's not being irresponsible. It's getting God on the job.
So if you would have taken the ice, would it not have worked?
Yeah, sure. Every little every little innuendo that presents itself is an area to water down your commitment. And you say, well, I'm not there. I would have taken the ice. And you know what? Grace would have worked with you having the ice. Your healing might not have been as dramatic as Drew's was, but you still would have gotten it. God's not a taskmaster. Oh, you went for the ice? Well, forget you. I'm going to someone else. No, God's not like that. The grace of God will work wherever a sliver of faith will allow it to work. This is the beauty of everyone being able to go at their own pace. You say, I'm going really slow, and that's okay. You can see me, I can't sit down right now. See, I'm up, which means what? See, I'm a little bit more wound. I'm tighter than an 8-day clock. Amen. You know what I mean? I'm wound. So I'm going to go faster. You may go slower. Guess what? We all get to the end where we have accomplished and God has been able to move in our lives, and we have a testimony. One might be a complete healing. Another might be, yes, I did have the chemo and I did have the surgery, but the doctors say I am healing better than anyone they've ever seen. Okay, grace is working in there a small measure, but take that and let God now build confidence in your heart to not have to go to the medicine cabinet when you're sneezing, when your nose is running. Start moving forward. Yes, Erin.
I need to say something.
Please.
I'm going to open up quite the subject here. I just heard even last week a minister say this to me. You ready?
Yeah.
She said, you have to do everything you can in the natural in order to give God something to work with. Is this true?
If Jesus were in her presence and she's doing everything in the natural, made 4 appointments that week, she has 1 prescription already filled and 5 more to get filled. She's eating now, renovated raided her refrigerator to put everything in there that's the most perfect food in the whole entire world. And Jesus is standing right there. And she says, wait till I get done with all this and then you can pray. Don't you think he'd be going like, I've seen people. I've never seen God not heal a knee in a person that was overweight by 150 to 200 pounds. And their weight is the reason why those knees are not working. And I've watched them heal those knees every single time. I've never seen it not happen. Because you'd look at someone like that and say, if you can get that weight off, we'll pray. God heals them every single time. Now, what they do with it is up to them. The choices they make, it's up to them. If it were me and my knees were now healed and I could now walk, I'd start walking. And I'd push myself away from the table just a little bit, take a little less of a portion, and start dropping some of that weight. And then I'd walk more, and I'd get that weight off. Because that just seems the right thing to do. But we have this really interesting thing that floats around in our churches now. And like I said, please hear me. God will work with you wherever you give him a sliver to work with, where he can help what that situation is to be better than anyone else's situation. But just because he will help you like that doesn't mean there isn't still a standard whereby we are to pursue growing to the place where we can just put God and God alone and let him heal us, bless us, set us free, where we don't need the hand of man or the contraptions of man to help us. And those that want to preach that so strongly, it's because they don't have a relationship themselves that works. So you can't lead somebody somewhere where you haven't been.